The unexpected request. It was an ordinary Saturday afternoon when Jack sat in his living room, a book resting open in his lap. The warm sunlight streamed through the window, casting soft patterns on the floor. The house was quiet, almost too quiet. As Jack's stepson, Mike, was in his room, as usual, probably doing homework or playing video games. Jack had been enjoying the peaceful solitude, his mind unwinding after a long week. As he turned a page in his book, Jack heard the faint sound of footsteps approaching from down the hallway. He looked up, expecting to see Mike entering the room, but what came next took him by surprise. The door creaked open slowly, and there stood Mike, his face slightly flushed, and his hands nervously clutching his waistband. Jack raised an eyebrow, wondering what Mike needed, but it wasn't like the usual requests. Mike hesitated at the door, looking more awkward than usual. "Hey, can you help me with my belt?" Mike asked, his voice unsure. Jack paused, taken aback by the request. Mike was an independent teenager he didn't usually need help with something as simple as putting on a belt. In fact, Jack couldn't remember the last time Mike had asked for help with anything. For a moment, Jack wondered if he had heard him correctly. "You need help with your belt?" Jack asked, slightly puzzled. Mike nodded, looking down at the ground, his cheeks now turning a shade redder. Jack could see Mike's nervousness. He'd never seen him act this way before, and it made Jack curious. What could be so difficult about a simple belt? "Yeah, I can't seem to get it right," Mike muttered, his voice trailing off. "It's stuck. I don't know why. Just, can you help me?" Jack set his book aside and stood up, his curiosity piqued. He could tell Mike wasn't just asking for help because of the belt, it was something more. There was a hint of discomfort in his voice, something Jack couldn't ignore. "Sure, Mike. Let me take a look," Jack said, trying to sound casual. "It's probably just tangled or something." "No big deal." Mike stepped into the room, his steps tentative, as if he wasn't sure whether he wanted to be there. Jack motioned for him to sit on the edge of the couch. As Mike sat down, Jack noticed how he seemed to avoid eye contact, his gaze fixed on his hands, which fidgeted with the end of the belt. Jack knelt down and reached for the belt buckle. As he got closer, he realized that the problem wasn't just that the belt was stuck. It was that the buckle itself was different than any belt buckle Jack had seen before. It wasn't a regular buckle. This one was more intricate, with a symbol etched into the metal, something that seemed almost foreign. "Where did you get this belt, Mike?" Jack asked as he fiddled with the buckle, trying to figure out why it was so difficult to undo. Mike shifted uncomfortably, his hands pulling at the fabric of his shirt. "It's a gift. I don't really know. I found it in a box of old things my uncle gave me." "Your uncle?" Jack asked, raising an eyebrow. Mike's uncle had always been a bit of a mystery. He'd only met him a couple of times, and each encounter had been brief and a little awkward. "Yeah. He just gave it to me, said it was special. I didn't think much of it until now." "It's kind of hard to explain," Mike replied, his voice almost a whisper. Jack didn't press the matter further, but something about the way Mike spoke left Jack with a nagging feeling. It wasn't like Mike to keep things from him, and it wasn't like him to be this uncomfortable, especially about something as simple as a belt. As Jack worked on the buckle, he couldn't shake the strange energy in the room. He was beginning to feel that this was more than just a simple problem with a belt. Finally, after a few more moments of trying, Jack managed to loosen the buckle, and Mike quickly pulled it off. He seemed relieved, but the tension in his shoulders didn't disappear. "There you go," Jack said, handing the belt back to Mike. "It looks fine to me now." "Maybe it was just stuck." Mike nodded, but he didn't seem convinced. He was still acting strange, almost distant. Jack didn't understand it. What was going on? Why had Mike seemed so anxious about a simple task? "Thanks, Dad," Mike said quietly, standing up and putting the belt back around his waist. As he adjusted it, he looked over at Jack, his expression conflicted. There was something he wanted to say, but he couldn't bring himself to say it. I should go check on something. I'll be in my room." "Sure, Mike," Jack said, watching his stepson quickly leave the room. The door clicked shut behind him, and for a moment, Jack was left standing there, staring at the spot where Mike had just been. Something didn't feel right. Jack stood there for a few moments longer, replaying the entire interaction in his head. What had just happened? Why had Mike been so nervous, so distant? The belt had been a simple thing, something that anyone could have helped with. Yet Mike had acted as if it were something far more complicated. And that symbol on the buckle, what was that all about? Jack's curiosity got the better of him, and he walked over to the belt that Mike had left on the couch. He picked it up, examining the intricate symbol on the buckle once more. It looked almost like a map or a pattern of some kind. Jack couldn't shake the feeling that this was no ordinary belt. His mind raced with questions. Why had Mike's uncle given him this belt? What was the true story behind it? And why had Mike been so reluctant to talk about it? Just as Jack was about to inspect the buckle closer, A strange buzzing sound came from the belt, a faint hum that seemed to come from the metal itself. Jack froze. The belt seemed to be vibrating in his hands. Asterisk the hidden truth. Jack stood in the living room for a few moments, the strange buzzing from the belt still echoing in his mind. His hands were still tingling from where he had touched it, and his heart was beating a little faster than usual. What was going on? It was just a belt, wasn't it? But the feeling in the air told him otherwise. Something wasn't right. It wasn't like Mike to act so nervous about something so simple. And the symbol on the buckle, it wasn't just decorative, it was important. And Jack was beginning to feel that it wasn't just a random gift from Mike's uncle. He glanced at the door, wondering where Mike had gone. Had he gone back to his room? Or was he still in the house somewhere? Jack didn't know why, but he felt the need to talk to Mike again. He needed to get to the bottom of this, even if it meant uncovering things he wasn't sure he wanted to know. Jack walked towards Mike's room, the house eerily quiet now. The once comforting silence felt thick with mystery. He knocked lightly on the door. Mike? You in there? No answer. Jack knocked again, this time louder. Mike? He turned the handle and gently pushed the door open. Inside, Mike was sitting on his bed, his back turned to the door, his hands fidgeting with the belt. The strange, almost frantic way Mike was handling it didn't go unnoticed. He was clearly nervous. And it wasn't just because of the request for help earlier. Mike, Jack said, stepping into the room. We need to talk. Mike turned quickly, a look of panic flashing across his face before he quickly tried to hide it. What's up, Dad? Jack stepped closer, closing the door behind him. There was a sense of urgency in the air now. What's going on with you? You've been acting weird ever since I helped you with your belt. I can't shake the feeling that something is wrong, Mike. Mike shifted uncomfortably, avoiding Jack's gaze. His fingers kept playing with the belt as if it were his only anchor in the world. Nothing's wrong, he muttered, though his voice didn't sound convincing. It's just the belt. It's been bothering me, that's all. Jack crossed his arms. Bothering you, Mike? That's not it. What's really going on? You've never been this nervous before. Mike's eyes flickered towards the window. He seemed to be weighing whether or not he should open up. But the hesitation in his eyes told Jack that whatever was going on, Mike was afraid to talk about it. After a few long seconds, Mike finally spoke. It's not just the belt, okay? It's everything. His voice was quiet, barely a whisper, but Jack could hear the fear in it. The belt, it's part of something bigger, something my uncle never told me. I didn't want to say anything because I thought I could handle it. But now it's all happening so fast. Jack's brow furrowed. What are you talking about, Mike? What's happening so fast? Mike hesitated, his hands trembling slightly. There's a reason I didn't tell you about the belt before. It wasn't just a random gift from my uncle. He gave it to me because I was supposed to unlock something, and now it's happening. Jack's pulse quickened. Unlock what? What's in the belt? Mike took a deep breath. It's not just a belt, it's a key to something my uncle was a part of. Something much bigger than us. He thought I was ready for it, but I wasn't. I didn't know how to handle it, and now I've triggered something. Jack stood still for a moment, the weight of Mike's words settling heavily in his chest. This was far beyond a simple piece of clothing. The belt was connected to something that Mike wasn't ready to fully explain. But the fear in his eyes was undeniable. Mike, you've got to tell me more. What exactly did your uncle give you? What does it unlock? What have you triggered? Jack asked, his voice rising with concern. Mike shook his head, looking lost. I don't know what it is, but I can feel it. It's like the belt is connected to something from another world. Every time I wear it, I feel it like I'm being watched. Like there's something out there that's waiting for me, something I don't understand. The room suddenly seemed smaller, the walls closing in. Jack felt a chill run through him as he realized that whatever Mike was talking about was not only real but dangerous. He needed answers, and Mike was the only one who could provide them. But the answers came at a cost, one that Jack wasn't sure he was ready to face. Asterisk the unseen danger. The room was too still for Jack's liking. The tension hung thick in the air, almost suffocating. Mike's admission about the belt had unsettled him more than he could explain. It wasn't just a strange gift. It was a key to something far bigger, something dangerous. He had no idea what they were dealing with. But Mike's words made it clear. The consequences of having this belt went far beyond a simple trinket. Jack sat down on the edge of Mike's bed, his mind racing as he tried to piece everything together. The belt, the symbol, Mike's strange behavior. It was all connected to something far more complicated than he could ever have imagined. It wasn't just about helping his stepson with a belt. It was about being thrust into a situation that could change their lives forever. Mike, tell me more. What do you mean by unlocking something? What's going to happen now that it's been triggered? Jack asked, his voice firm but filled with concern. Mike looked up at him, his face pale and full of anxiety. I don't know exactly what's going to happen, but I can feel it. Ever since I first put the belt on, I've felt different. Like there's something inside of me, something I can't control. It's not just me, there's a whole group of people who know about this. My uncle was part of something secret. And now that I have the belt, I think they know it. I think they're coming for me. Jack's heart raced as the gravity of the situation settled in. He wasn't just dealing with a strange object, he was dealing with something that had the potential to expose them both to a world of danger they weren't prepared for. Who's coming for you? And why didn't you tell me any of this earlier? Jack asked, his frustration evident. Mike's eyes welled up with tears and he wiped them quickly, trying to keep his composure. I didn't want to drag you into this, Dad. I thought I could handle it on my own. But now I don't think I can. There's a group of people out there who want the belt. They'll stop at nothing to get it back, and if they find out I have it, I don't know what will happen. Jack's mind was spinning. What had Mike gotten involved in? Why had his uncle kept him in the dark about all of this? And most importantly, why hadn't Mike said anything sooner? It wasn't just a harmless mistake anymore. This was bigger than both of them. It was dangerous, and now they were in the thick of it. You don't have to face this alone, Jack said, his voice full of resolve. We'll figure it out, we'll protect you. But Mike shook his head, looking terrified. You don't understand, Dad. It's not that simple. These people aren't just dangerous, they're powerful. They have connections, resources. And they'll do anything to get what they want. I don't know how to stop them. Just as Jack was about to respond, a strange noise interrupted them. It was a low hum, almost imperceptible at first, but it grew louder, vibrating through the floorboards. It was the same hum Jack had felt earlier when he first helped Mike with his belt. But this time, it was stronger, more pronounced. It felt like the house was responding to something. Like it was alive. Jack stood up quickly, his instincts telling him to be cautious. What is that sound? He asked, his eyes scanning the room. Mike looked panicked, his eyes wide with fear. It's happening. I think they've found us. They know we have it now. Before Jack could react, the ground beneath them began to shake, a violent tremor rattling the walls. The lights flickered and the floorboards creaked as though something beneath them was moving. A loud bang echoed from somewhere deep within the house, followed by a sudden silence that made Jack's heart stop. Then, the door slammed open and Jack spun around to see Mike's uncle standing there, his face pale and tense, his eyes wide with fear. They've found us, he said, his voice low and urgent. You have to leave, now, before they get here. Asterisk the escape plan. Jack's heart pounded in his chest as his stepson's uncle rushed into the room, his face grim. The tremors in the floor had barely stopped when Mike's uncle spoke again, his voice sharp with urgency. We don't have much time, he said, looking directly at Jack. You need to leave the house now, before it's too late. They're close. Jack felt a rush of panic flood his veins. Who's coming for us? What do they want? He demanded, his mind still racing from the strange events unfolding around them. Mike's uncle, who had always been a bit of a mystery, seemed to hesitate, as if weighing whether to reveal the full truth. Finally, he spoke, his words low and filled with fear. I didn't want you involved in this. I thought I could protect you both, but it's too late now. Those people, whoever they are, they've been tracking that belt for years. It's not just an ordinary object, it's part of something bigger, something ancient. Jack could barely comprehend what Mike's uncle was saying. This was beyond anything he had imagined. A simple belt was connected to something ancient and dangerous, and now it was drawing unwanted attention. He looked at Mike, who was pale, his eyes wide with fear. What do you mean, ancient? Jack asked, his voice shaking slightly. What's so special about the belt? Mike's uncle turned to look at the belt, which was lying on the floor between them. The belt is a key, Jack. It's been passed down through generations, hidden in plain sight. It has the power to unlock something that hasn't been accessed for centuries. A door to a power that could change the world, but also destroy it. That's why they're coming for it, and now that you've touched it, they'll stop at nothing to take it from you. Jack stared at the belt, still trying to process what Mike's uncle was saying. A key to what? And who were they? We need to get out of here, Mike's uncle repeated, his voice urgent. They know you have the belt now. We can't stay here. We have to move fast. Just then, the house seemed to groan again. The walls rattled slightly and the hum returned, louder this time. It felt like the very structure of the building was alive, vibrating with an energy that wasn't normal. Jack's nerves were on edge. What kind of place had they found themselves in? Mike, who had been silent for most of the conversation, suddenly spoke, his voice breaking through the tension. I don't want to go. What if they find us anyway? What if it's too late? Mike's uncle turned to him with a hard look. It's not too late, Mike. We can still leave, but we need to leave now, and we need to stay ahead of them. They've been tracking that belt for longer than you know, and they won't stop until they get it back. Jack turned back to the door, his mind racing. They couldn't just leave. They needed a plan, a way to fight back, but the strange energy Around the house made him feel powerless. Whatever was happening, they weren't safe. We can't just run, Jack said firmly, his voice steady. We need to understand what this is all about. Who are these people? And what exactly are we dealing with? Mike's uncle glanced at him, his eyes darkening. That's the problem. You don't have time to understand, not yet. You just need to survive long enough to figure it out.